you ever wonder about the lives of some of the great country music legends? Beyond what you saw on the stage, what kind of person was Farron Young? Roger Miller, Tammy Wynette, and others. Well, who better to tell you the real story than the children of the country music legends? Those who grew up in the shadow of country legends like George Jones, Marty Robbins, and Conway Twitty. Well, that's who we have on this special edition of Country's Family Reunion we're calling Second Generations. We've also invited some of the country legends you know to add their stories and songs as we celebrate 2 generations of country. So get ready for some stories you've never heard and some songs sung so well by their kids, you'll swear the legends were in the room. This is Country's Family Reunion, Second Generations.
And that is another gathering of our family, our friends in country music. So many people here today, a very special edition called Second Generations. And let me explain kind of what that means. These people who are really going to be featured today are sons and daughters and nieces and nephews and all kinds of connections with people who are legendary in country music. Robin Young was the instigator to getting us all together again.
My name's Robin Young. My father was Farron Young. Dad was a very shy and humble man.
Following the footsteps.
And the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. And I, too, used to have a crush on Jeannie Seeley.
What do you mean, used to? I'm tired of hearing
You're in trouble now.
Well, my wife might be watching, and I'm already sitting next to this really hot blonde right here, so I'm probably in trouble already.
Yeah, your wife knew what she got into.
And also, on somebody else's room, Shelley. Me and Shelley used to go to school, and Shelley was a cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure.
You know how boys are about cheerleaders, you know.
Country.
We got together to sing and play some music, too. Robin Young, since you instigated this thing, get your microphone and get out there and lay one of your dad's great songs on us. I think this is a good one to start off with. Robin does it great, and the band plays it great. Great song called Wind Me Up right here from Robin Young, sung the great Farron.
I'm the center of attention in this bar, 'cause I've got the biggest heartache of the year. Each night those swinging doors reach out for me and draw me in, 'cause I know each night I'll be back to wind me up again. Wind me up, turn me on, and watch me cry for you. Lately, drinking warm red wine is all I wanna do. And I never know how tight I'll wind me up till I walk in. But I don't care, I'll be back to wind me up again. I'd like to thank the men that raise the grapes way out in California. I'm hoping this will be their biggest year. 'Cause scarlet water's all that's left to keep me hanging on. And that's why I'll try to wind me up each day and night next year. Wind me up, turn me on, and watch me cry for you. is all I wanna do. And I never know how tight I'll wind me up till I walk in. But I don't care, I'll be back to wind me up again. I don't care, I'll be back to wind me up again.
Robin Young, son of Farron Young. Boy, you favor him in the face, you sound like him, but you never really pursued the music business for a full-time career, did you?
Off and on from times. I mean, I did for a while, and then at one point I decided I needed to get a real job. Since there is no retirement in country music, you know, unless you're like a huge songwriter like Bill Anderson, who has all that money to roll back on. So I actually, which was kind of weird, out of all things, Dad being known as the singing sheriff, I went and took a job as a deputy sheriff in Nashville for about 24 years and was an actual gun-toting, badge-wearing deputy sheriff. I retired out of that. That was kind of my plan, go do music on the weekends, do that, get the pension, which I did, and now I'm back out to playing music again. So I'm traveling around and playing and singing again. But I've done a few. I've worked a few with you over the years, and Jeannie on some of those fair shows.
I know you know this story, but most of you in the room don't, and I'll try to make it as quick as I can make it.
Is it a Farron Young story?
Yeah.
Is it clean?
Yeah.
It can be told. Okay. There's so many that can't be told.
Farron and I met Farron when he was actually in the Army stationed in Atlanta, when he was in the band called the Circle A Wranglers at the 3rd Army headquarters at Fort McPherson, Georgia. So when I came to Nashville, I had a little bit of an acquaintance with Farron. And the first time I was ever invited to go to be on a national television show was in the days of the Ozark Jubilee in Springfield, and Farron was on the same night. He asked me if I'd like to ride to Springfield with him in his big long Cadillac and Odell Martin, his guitar player, and I did not realize that Farron had an ulterior motive to asking me to ride with him.
He always
until we got about halfway up the road, and he says, Bill, heard a couple of songs you wrote the other day. He said, they're pretty good. I like both of them. And I said, oh, really? I said, what songs were they? He said, well, one was called Riverboat, and the other one was called Face to the Wall. And I said, well, I hope you like them enough to record them. He said, well, yeah, but it wouldn't be fair to Harlan Howard and Roger Miller and Mel Tillis and all the other writers if I recorded 2 Bill Anderson songs. If I put them back to back on the record, that wouldn't be fair to the other writers. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, one of these is going down the tube. And then we ride a little farther. He said, unless, of course, maybe I was part writer on one of them.
Jeannie, you got away with all of leaving and saying goodbye, didn't you, when he cut that?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. I don't know
fortunate.
how,
See
but
what
I
being
did.
a girl does for you, Bill?
It was too late for me to change. I'm
Dad
sorry.
had a crush on her, too.
But, so I said so he's saying this to me, and I'm thinking, I could get 2 Farron Young, and Farron Young were selling a lot of records in those days, and gosh, I could get a song and a half by Farron would be better than no songs at all, you know. So I'm sitting there thinking, which one does he want half of? He's going to tell me which one he wants half of. And I'm thinking, I really think Riverboat is going to be the bigger of the 2 songs. Please don't say you want half of Riverboat, please. We ride along. He says, I tell you what, give me half a Face to the Wall and I'll cut both of them. I said, thank you, Lord, I appreciate it. But then the night, they both made the top 10. They were both successful. And on the night that we won the award at BMI for Face to the Wall, we walked up to the podium. I said, Farron, nice little song we wrote together there. He said, if I was you, Anderson, I wouldn't be complaining. I said, I'm not complaining at all. I was honored and thrilled. He was a dear friend. We were neighbors out on Harbor Island for years, and I loved you, Dad, very much.
He loved you, too. I mean, you were one of his favorite people. And I know when Dad got inducted into the Hall of Fame, at the medallion ceremony, when they said, they came and asked us, who would you like to come do a speech? And you were the first name out of my mouth.
Thank you. Your dad rode his riding lawnmower down to my house one day to borrow a cup of sugar.
See, Georgette, and you thought your daddy was the first to do that trick.
Robin, thank you. We'll visit with you a little later on. Robin Young, son of Farron Young. Let's go back and do a little bit of the one that Farron let me keep all of this one. So we'll do a little bit of a song that he had a big hit record on called Riverboat. Well, I spent the better part of my life on a Mississippi riverboat. I used to be known from coast to coast as the slickest gambler afloat. I dealt the cards from Minnesota to the harbor at New Orleans. Made a lot of big money on the riverboat. Loved a lot of pretty riverboat queens. Riverboat, riverboat, I love your whistle as well. I wish I was back on the riverboat instead of in the Memphis jail. Well, a big man got on the riverboat our last time in St. Paul. He had a lot of money, but his luck went bad, and the riverboat won it all. He said I dealt from the bottom of the deck. He pulled a shining knife. But before that gambler lunged at me, my 44 took his life. Riverboat, riverboat, I love your whistle as well. I wish I was back on the riverboat instead of in the Memphis jail. Well, they came on the boat and it took me to jail when we got to Tennessee. A gambling man has very few friends, guess nobody cared for me. I might be here for many long years, but if I ever get out, I'm gonna head straight for the levee and get me a riverboat heading south. Riverboat, riverboat, I love your whistle as well. I wish I was back on the riverboat instead of in the Memphis jail. Instead of in the Memphis jail. Couple old boys over there on the back row, one with the cowboy hat on, the other one taking a sip of water.
Yes, sir.
The sons of friends of all of us, although they never lived here in Nashville, but Langdon Reed and Will Reed, the sons of Don and Harold of the Statler brothers, second generation Cadillac Cowboys. Do you do a takeoff on the Cadillac Cowboys, or you just do serious music?
Absolutely not.
Sometimes when we're singing for serious, people think it's a takeoff on the road hog.
Yeah, and that's embarrassing.
That is.
Yeah, our dads thought after all these years that the hog would have died by now, but he's alive and well. Evidently, you got that poster.
Yeah, he wrote it right on there. Now you talk about somebody looking like his daddy. Does Will look like?
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's a shame two of them.
What'd you say, Langdon?
It's a shame two of them are that ugly in the world, isn't it?
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Okay, now you guys sang together for a while. You named yourself Grand Staff or something.
Yeah, we've been singing together and doing a duo for a good while. And when we started singing, we called ourselves Grand Staff, and that's an old family name.
Right.
Is the reason we chose that. Had a cool musical ring to it, and we loved it, the name. And but then after a while, we got to realizing that not a lot of people could remember it. We got called all kinds of stuff, didn't we?
Oh, we did, like the Grand Staffers or Grind Staff.
Grandstand.
Right. Yeah. Flagstaff.
Oh, yeah.
And that coupled with no hit record, we thought it was time to change the name. So as of late, our duo name is Wilson Fairchild, which is our middle names. And that's what we perform under. But I want to say something I've been thinking the whole time that we've been together, and what a wonderful experience this is. it's so amazing to me, and I never thought about it till being here and meeting all you great people, how much we have in common, and we don't even know each other. Growing up in a musical family, all the things that we thought were normal in our childhood aren't so normal to most people, but it's really nice to be around people that have been through the same experiences, that we have, and hearing the songs from the studio before they ever made the album, when our dads brought them home, and we've always been huge Statler Brother fans. Here's another true fact. So Langdon and I love country music. We love the Statler Brothers. And of course, that's been our huge influence. We were forced to listen to their music.
We get grounded if we didn't.
Exactly. But so one of the funniest things is even the stuff that they cut early on, we would listen to their albums, and it was very popular back then, as a lot of you know, not only to record things they had written, but record other hits that other artists had. They would do it, quite frequently. Well, when Langdon and I would hear those things, we thought those were all their songs. When the first time I heard City Lights, I heard it from them. I thought it was their song. It was on an album of theirs. But that's happened to us more than once because that was, our strong influence. But we've always loved country music and loved their legacy and everything they've ever done.
Did we get a song out of...
oh, we'd love to do a song.
Sure.
Out of the non-Statler Brothers. Give me the name again. Wilson Fairchild.
Wilson Fairchild.
Wilson Fairchild. No kin to Barbara Fairchild.
That's right.
I don't guess.
So when we decided, yes, we were definitely going to do one of their songs, and my dad, Don Reed, and Will's Harold Reed, they were both very prolific songwriters, wrote so many things, so many hits for the Statlers of all their 40 years that they toured. So we said, okay, we're definitely going to do one of their songs. So we got together and we made the list, and we cut it down the first time to 75 songs that we could do. Wow. And then we got together and cut it down to like 72 songs maybe.
Right.
So anyway, we decided on this one, and this was a huge hit for them back in, I believe, about 1972. Both of them wrote this song, and we thought what a better song to sing for them about a time before we were born, about a bunch of people we never knew.
Exactly. But it's certainly a signature song for them.
Tommy's selling used cars, Nancy's fixing hair. Harvey runs a grocery store and Margaret doesn't care. Jerry drives a truck for Sears and Charlotte's on the make. And Paul sells life insurance and part-time real estate.
Helen is a hostess, Frank works at the mill. Janet teaches grade school and probably always will. Bob works for the city and Jackson Lab Research. And Peggy plays organ at the Presbyterian Church. And the class of '57 had its dreams. We all thought we'd change the world with our great works and deeds. Or maybe we just thought the world would change to fit our needs. The class of '57 had its dreams.
Betty runs a trailer park, Jan sells Tupperware. Randy's on an insane ward and Mary's on welfare. Charlie took a job with Ford and Joe took Freddie's wife. Charlotte took a millionaire and Freddie took his life.
John's big in cattle, raised deep in debt. Where Mavis finally wound up is anybody's bet. Linda married Sonny, Brenda married me, and the class of all of us is just part of history. And the class of '57 had its dreams. Living life day to day is never like it seems. Things get complicated when you get past 18, but the class of '57 had its dreams. Oh, the class of '57 had its dreams.
time. Yeah, Will Reed, Langdon Reed. Melissa Lumen, Bob Lumen's daughter, one act that everybody in this room will tell you they never wanted to follow on the stage. What an incredible entertainer your dad was.
Thank you. I've heard that a lot. They definitely didn't want to follow him. He had an aura about him when he walked in a room, and it just kind of followed him. And it's been nice hearing. I was so young when he died. I was 12. So as I've gotten older, I've appreciated it much more, and I love hearing the stories. Love hearing the stories.
What do you remember about him the most? You were an only child, right?
Yep, still am. And I am the only one. And I'll tell you a funny little story. One Saturday, he was in Nashville doing something, and a friend of mine and I decided we'd get his albums and his 8-tracks, and we'd sell them in the mailbox. We had a big mailbox. We lived on Caudill Drive with Roy Orbison across the street and Johnny Cash, and so there were tons of tourists. And I said, let's sell these 8-tracks and these albums. And my mom was doing something she wasn't paying attention. So we hauled these boxes down to the end of the driveway and we stuck them in the mailbox. And I was selling them for $2 a piece. Wow. And we had a real good day. And about the time my dad got home, he said, well, that's awesome. You're out there promoting. He said, how much money did you make? And I told him, and he said, well, what'd you sell them for? I said, well, $2. Everything was $2. And needless to say, that was the last time I sold his albums and his 8-tracks out of the mailbox.
Now you do sing. You
I do
perform.
sing, yeah.
Yeah. Are you out on the road and touring and that type thing?
No, I'm sure not. I'm a loan officer and enjoy that very much. But I sing a little here and there, and that's how I met my husband, was singing, and it's fun.
I remember going to the Louisiana Hayride one time. In fact, I only was there a couple of times, and Bob was on the show. And you couldn't believe how hot he was at the Louisiana Hayride. He was there. Elvis had left, I guess, in the mid-'50s or so. And it was like Bob Lumen was the next big thing at the Louisiana Hayride. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. He and Elvis had a lot of similarities. The similarities are very eerie. Sometimes I look at some pictures back in those days, the Hayride days, where they looked so much alike.
You've got some great pictures. We don't have a way to really show them here, but I want you to give them to our producer so they can show some of them as we're having this conversation. Flash some of the pictures, because there's some great pictures of you and your dad. I've seen ways that we all saw him on the stage, but to see him at home with his little girl.
Yeah. That, and I think I brought some pictures of. He hired James Burton and James Kirkland in Shreveport, and took them to L.A. and they did the town hall party out there and did a movie, Carnival Rock, and then Ozzie and Harriet snatched James Burton, and that was the end of that.
I was going to say, whatever happened to that Burton guy?
Yeah. Whatever happened to that Burton? Yeah.
Well, and sure, your dad, he discovered him?
Who? Discovered James?
Yeah.
Well, you know that they were 17. The picture I brought, actually, they were kids. They were 17. They were hot. You can imagine the three of them.
He told me one time, he'd come on my radio show from time to time. Bob would. Always a tremendous guest. And one time I got to talking to him. I said, it's got to be a little bit tough for you to be so funny, entertaining as you are every night. He said, well, it's not so tough if you stop and think about it. If you're not entertaining those people out there sitting in the audience, they'll walk out, get a 6-pack, go home and watch Johnny Carson. He said, I love to entertain.
Yeah. He was an entertainer. Melissa, how about a song? You do Let's Think About Living, I think, which is one of Bob's big hit songs.
This is a little happy song written by Boudleaux and Felice Bryant, and was one of my dad's biggest hits back in the 60s. And I think we all need to listen to the words of this, and I think we probably all need to be doing a little more of that these days. Let's hit it, boys. In every other song that I've heard lately, some fella gets shot, and his baby and his mister both die with him, as likely as not.
In half of the other songs, some cats cry, ready to die. We've lost most all of our happy people and I'm wondering why. Let's sing about living. Let's sing about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, loving, loving. Let's forget about the wine and the crying and the shooting and the dying and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's sing about life. We lost old Marty Robbins down in El Paso a little while back. And now Miss Patty Page, one of them's a wearing black. And Kathy's clown has Don and Phil where they feel like they could die. If we keep on losing our singers like that, I'll be the only one you can buy. Let's sing about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, loving, loving. Let's forget about the wine and the crying and the shooting and the dying and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. I sing about life. Let's sing about living. Let's sing about life. Let's sing about living. Let's think about life.
Great. Melissa Loomer, thanks. You have been. Michael, how about another song from you? You did a very serious song, kind of almost a religious type song that was your dad's favorite. Come up here and sing one of them songs to them, all them women that was Conway Twitty fans.
All right.
He had a way. Conway and I talked a lot about songs and things. He was one of the few people in our business, he would listen to thousands of songs before he would record. And, of course, when Porkchop used to introduce him on stage, he said he was the best friend a song ever had. But your dad knew who Conway Twitty was. He knew who Conway Twitty's fans were. And he could put himself in that place, and he picked these kinds of songs deliberately.
Absolutely.
That the women would like.
And I asked him, one time I said, Dad, you had hit after hit after hit. And he said, well, son, I always remember a lot of great singers out there, but very few great songs. Something you know a lot about, being one of the finest songwriters in this whole town. In fact, you wrote one of my favorite things that Dad ever recorded, I May Never Get to Heaven. Yeah. One of my very favorite songs ever.
Yeah, mine too.
Wrote that. But he said, a lot of great singers out there, but very few great songs. You got to have that great song, And I said, okay, Dad, how do you choose a song? He said, well, son, what I do is, very first thing I do when I'm listening to a song and trying to choose which one to record, excuse me, he said, I always listen with an ear and I always pick a song that the ladies are going to like. And I said, oh, okay, Dad, that makes sense. But what about us guys? There are some male country music fans out there too, Dad. He said, I know that, son. I'm one myself. I said, well, do you ever? He said, yeah, every once in a while I'll record one just for the guys. I said, well, all right, Dad, when you do that, how do you choose that song? He said, well, son, I'll tell you. When I'm listening to a song thinking about I'm going to record just for the guys, the very first thing I do, I make sure it's a song the ladies are going to like. But anyway, I wanted to do this one. This is one that he recorded for the guys, but I had to be on tour with him when he was thinking about recording this song. And, of course, somebody mentioned earlier, I think it might have been you, but Dad didn't talk very much, but he would stop his show on this because he was thinking about recording this song. He would ask the women, he said, you guys just hush up for a minute. I want to ask the ladies out there if they like this song. If they don't like it, Conway Twitty ain't going to record it. And so I want to know what you ladies think. And he would do this song. This went on for about 3 weeks, four nights a week, about 3 weeks. Well, the ladies loved it. Dad finally got that in his mind, and he went back to Nashville and recorded it. Here's one he recorded just for us guys, but only with the ladies' approval first. Smart man, my dad, I love it. It's called Darling, I Really Be Loving Your Tight-Fitting Jeans. Yeah. She tried to hide it by the faded denim clothes she wore, but I knew she'd never been inside a bar before. And I felt like a peasant who just admit a queen, and she knew I saw right through her tight-fitting jeans. Yeah. Well, I asked her, what's a woman like you do in here. I see you used to champagne, but I'll buy you a beer. And she said, you've got me figured out, but I'm not what I seem. And for a dance, I'll tell you about these tight-fitting jeans. She said, I've married money, and I'm used to wearing pearls, but I've always dreamed of being just a good old boy's girl. So tonight I lit those crystal candlelights to live a dream. And partner, the tiger in these tight-fitting jeans. Oh, yeah. Oh. We dance every dance, and Lord, the beer that we went through. I'm satisfied I did my best to make a dream come true. And as she played out her fantasy before my eyes, it seemed a cowgirl came alive inside those tight-fitting jeans. Well, in my mind, she's still a lady, and that's all I'm gonna say. But I knew that I'd been broken by the time we parted ways. And I know I held more woman than most eyes have ever seen. Tonight I knew a lady wearing them tight-fitting jeans. Well, now she's back in her world, and I'm still stuck in mine. But I know I'll always remember the time a cowboy once had a millionaire's dream. And Lord, I love that lady wearing them tight-fitting jeans. Thank you, sir.
Great job, man. You just did something there. Your dad, did that have any particular meaning to it?
No,
he would
it's
always
just,
do that finger.
He just always would do that, you know. And I asked him one time about that, and I said, Dad, what's with the finger? He said, well, that's between me, son, and the man that made me. And I said, that's a good answer. I'll take that. And every time I end my shows, we're talking all about my Memories of Conway show. And every time I end that show at the end of the night, we do them all over this country and been to Europe with it and everywhere. But at the end of the show, I always, you know, I love you, Daddy. Right back at you.
Ronnie Robbins, your dad did so many different kinds of music. He was known as a great ballad singer, country singer, those Western songs that he did that were so great. Stock car driver, all the things that he did. What do you think his most lasting legacy is?
I think he said at one time, we did a TV special back in the mid-'80s, and his line was, I'd like to be remembered as a good entertainer, a good person, maybe just better as a good person. But that's just the way, you know. Yeah. He just loved doing whatever. I think, you know, he slept about 3 hours a night on the average. He probably, if you amortized, you know how to do this.
I will.
If you took the hours that he was awake and kind of, you know, divided it into a normal 8-hour a night sleep, he probably lived to be 90 years in his 57 years because he was always doing something. I mean, you know, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and if the air conditioner wasn't on, I've told the story before, and I know it gets boring, but I could hear him in the piano room, you know, singing, you know, or writing or whatever. And of course, every time he ever went out west, he'd usually stop in Dallas and change flights and go see Bill. You know, he was just always up at night. He was always writing, always doing something. But you know, he just, especially after his heart attack, he just decided to just live life to the fullest and do everything. You know, he just didn't want to waste any time, you know.
He said, I think I almost beat that old piano to death.
He knew how to do that.
The Western songs. Lay one of those on us, because you can do them so very well.
Well, yeah, I'll give it a try.
Sound a lot like
figure out how to get out of here. Did I come the wrong way? And I appreciate all the requests that I've had, but I'm going to go ahead and do a song anyway. But this is one I used to do it on my road show quite a bit, and I've really never done it on any TV shows that much, so I'm pretty sure I'll forget the words, but I'm going to give it a shot. And it's not El Paso, so I'm sorry. To the town of Alfredo rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. Stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip. It was early in the morning when he rode into the town. He came riding from the south side, slowly looking all around. He's an outlaw, loose and running, came a whisper from each lip, and he's here to do some business with the big iron on his hip, the big iron on his hip. In this town there lived an outlaw by the name of Texas Red. Many men had tried to take him, and that many men were dead. He was vicious and a killer, though a youth of 24, and the notches on his pistol numbered 1 and 19 more, 1 and 19 more. Now the stranger started talking, made it plain to folks around. Was an Arizona Ranger, wouldn't be too long in town. He came here to take an outlaw back alive or maybe dead, and he said it didn't matter, he was after Texas Red, after Texas Red. Wasn't long before the story was relayed to Texas Red. But the outlaw didn't worry men that tried before were dead. 20 men had tried to take him, 20 men had made a slip. 21 would be the ranger with the big iron on his hip, the big iron on his hip. The morning passed so quickly it was time for them to meet. It was 20 past 11 when they walked out in the street. Folks were watching from the windows, everybody held their breath. They knew this handsome ranger was about to meet his death, about to meet his death. There was 40 feet between them when they stopped to make their play. And the swiftness of the ranger is still talked about today. Texas Red had not cleared leather for a bullet fairly ripped, and the ranger's aim was deadly with the big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip. It was over in a moment and the folks had gathered round. There before them lay the body of the outlaw on the ground. Oh, he might have went on living, but he made one fatal slip when he tried to match the ranger with the big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip. Big iron, when he tried to match the ranger with the big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip.
Jim Ed, we've talked a lot in the room today about John Russell's dad, Johnny Russell, who was
You
a
expect
dear
me to
friend of
follow
ours.
that, don't you? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
You expect me to follow her?
I think you can do it. No, I think we have
great.
not sung a Johnny Russell song. Johnny gave the world a lot of great
Yes, he did.
music. He made great records, Baptism of Jesse Taylor, Redneck White Sox, and Blue Ribbon Bear.
Bear.
So many songs.
Catfish
Songs he wrote for
John.
George Strait, Mark Chestnut, people
Yeah,
like
let's fall the pieces together. You'll be back making plans.
Yeah, Making Plans, one of the great country songs.
One of my favorites that he ever did. One of my favorite ballads was Ain't You Even Gonna Cry.
Yes.
Great
He
song.
did. And that was actually written, he was over at Ricky Skaggs' house. And one of their daughters, Sharon, was getting ready to go grocery shopping, I think it was. She was getting ready to leave, and one of the daughters just busted out crying. And she wouldn't stop crying. Finally, they got her settled down, and Sharon went and did her shopping or whatever. And when Dad got ready to leave, he looked at her and said, I'm getting ready to leave. Ain't you even going to cry? And he stopped at the car wash there in Hendersonville and wrote that song.
Wrote it, yeah.
He had some great ones. I woke up this morning for some reason. I don't know. I was walking around the house singing Catfish John. Maybe I knew you were going to sing
Well, you want to sing it with me?
No, I want you to sing it.
Get up here and sing it.
You sing it.
Hit me a key, fellas, if you please. Ready? Mama said, don't go near that river. Don't be hanging round old Catfish John. Come the morning, I'd always be there, walking in his footsteps in the sweet Delta dawn. Let me dream of another morning, of a time so long ago, where the sweet magnolias blossom, cotton fields were white as snow. Catfish John was a river hobo, living by the river's bend. Thinking back, I still remember I was proud to be his friend. Mama said, don't go near that river. Don't be hanging round old Catfish John. Come the morning, I'd always be there, walking in his footsteps in the sweet Delta dawn. Catfish John, he was born in the town of Vicksburg, traded for a chestnut bear. Still he never spoke in anger, though his load was hard to bear. Mama said, don't go near that river. Don't be hanging round old Catfish John. Come the morning, I'd always be there, walking in his footsteps in the sweet Delta dawn. Walking in his footsteps in the sweet Delta dawn.